How's it going, guys? I'm Robert from Machado Visuals, and I know I've been away for a bit, but I've been absolutely slammed over the past few months, which is a good thing, but it's left the channel on the back burner. But I want to talk about one of the projects I have been working on, which is a short film called Margaret the Brave that the folks over at Desert Cactus Films have been working on for a little bit over a year. Now, for a little background, I first came across their work at the Las Vegas Film Festival a number of years ago from their music video Noose. I remember being struck by the really compelling visual style. I thought the combination of live action footage with animation was a really unique way of telling a story. Fast forward to now, they're finishing up the final sequences for their latest short film, Margaret the Brave. Most of the film has already been shot, and I had been asked to shoot the phase 2 of the VFX run as second unit DP. I'd been itching to collaborate with Danny on a project, so of course, I was happy to jump on. So, a little backstory, half of the film takes place during the medieval era and follows our hero, Margaret. Our shot list was about 90% VFX shots, so we shot at Lightforge Studios since they have a green cyc and added a bunch of markers on the wall so Danny would be able to get a solid track in post. For this project, we chose to use the a7S III for a few reasons. Since we're primarily capturing VFX shots, Danny needed the tracking markers in the background to be sharp, so we needed to shoot everything at a minimum of T11 at a shutter of at least 1/125th. This meant that we needed a camera with great low light performance, even though we were shooting in the studio. To make compositing easier, Danny also wanted to bake in the color profile, so we went with s-cinetone for our Rec 709 look. Another reason I chose the a7S was to keep my other cameras available in the event a rental came up, and I did consider using the FX6 for this, but the a7S just made more sense since phase 1 used the a7S II, and it just made for a better match. It didn't really make sense to record in log since we were really pushing the ISO for some of the scenes at T22. If I'm ever doing any extreme low light work, I usually prefer baking in color since my priority is capturing a decent exposure rather than maximizing dynamic range. We shot as high as 16,000, and while the noise is noticeable, it lends itself to the story since we're going for the jittery silent film look, and once the composite is complete, it really doesn't matter as much. The foundation of our lighting was based on our overhead setup, which featured 16 Astera Titan tubes. We went with Asteras because they're brighter than quasar rainbows, and having the ability to control the lights via an app was paramount. The app isn't super intuitive and did take a few days to figure out, but being able to quickly change lighting was instrumental when recalling different scenes throughout the week. We rigged the tubes to the studio grid using the included eyelets and baling wire, and hardwired each tube using the individual chargers. Below the tubes, we set up a 10x20 frame using quarter grid, and we would turn off certain rows to help shape the light depending on which way talent was facing. This is pretty much the ultimate fill light since we're able to key with primary fixtures and then dial in the room tone using the app. If you're interested in using these lights, Andrew Locke from Gaffer & Gear has a great breakdown of this kit, which I definitely recommend checking out.
You have to do it, Danny, you're on the camera.
Oh, that is really nice.
Let me get myself.
How's that 13.2?
I mean, it's like I said, it's not much, but it's honest work.
Although we live in an LED world, I still love using traditional tungsten fixtures because the quality of light is still unmatched and makes it very easy to feel organic. I'll always choose to implement them if they suit the project, and they were perfect for Margaret the Brave. Our largest tungsten unit was a Mol 2K for now, which we often use to mimic harsh sunlight. Another way we often use tungstens was to mimic firelight. When you dim tungsten filaments, they become warmer in color temperature, and the 2K was really handy for this since we had a lot of room to dim the unit and produce a really warm glow while also retaining enough output to properly light a scene. As much as I love tungsten units, however, they are a bit difficult to work with. A single 2K pulls nearly 20 amps of power, meaning that I'm not able to use anything else on that circuit. This is why LEDs have become so popular, because most of a tungsten's energy is wasted on heat. The LEDs we were using were a SkyPanel S60 and a set of Aperture MCs. The SkyPanel is obviously super versatile, so it was great as a utility light that we could pull out whenever we needed a quick key or creative effect. Since it's an RGB panel, I can pull nearly any color I want, so I'm able to seamlessly match it with whatever other fixtures I'm using. The lighting effects were also super handy to have. We mainly use the fire effect, which is one of my favorite fire settings on an RGB light. And a lot of times we would set up the bare panel next to talent to produce a pretty convincing fire gag. The Aperture MCs quickly became a staple on this set since we were able to mimic candlelight on the fly. The tricky part about emulating any sort of fire is that the source isn't static. Fire is constantly moving and changing where shadows appear, so having multiple smaller sources makes things much easier when making a fire gag feel organic. The 12 light kit was great because we were able to leave all the lights at the charging station and essentially grab and go whenever we needed them. They were all paired to Sidus Link, so I was able to control all the fixtures on an individual level, as well as create groups to control simultaneously. One of the creative ways we implemented MCs was on a torch made from a pool noodle and dowel secured via bongo ties. This way we have a practical lighting effect that interacts with the talent and environment and will really help sell the VFX composite. The MCs are also great for producing a great eye light for talent if the main key light is too far off axis.
So today I had to do a scene that Danny, Rachel, and I have been talking about for a while, where I had to bite into a turkey leg in my scene, and I was like, I can just do it. I'll bite into a turkey leg, and we love our takes and going through multiple takes. But Danny's like, I can't have you doing that multiple times. So they were kind enough and intuitive enough and creative enough to actually go and make me turkey legs made out of cake. And just wanted to show you the detail in these.
So essentially the bone is made out of oven-baked clay, and it only takes about like 10 minutes to kind of roll the thing together. But on the inside is like cake. So essentially this detail right here, that is like Hershey's cocoa mix. It's just kind of brushed on there, and then the light brown, that is caramel. And underneath that is a vanilla filling.
Do you want to take a bite? Do you want me to?
Oh, I don't. By all means. Yeah, by all means. It's very delicious.
One more dip into this, but I mean, just how the weight of it, and you can actually just it's handling an actual turkey leg. And I haven't eaten poultry in 4 years, so I really do appreciate these guys going through that. But to show you the detail in here, we're going to take a bite. Well, it actually looks like poultry inside, so delicious. And, amazing, but thank you guys again.
Absolutely. Hey, you got to make it happen. You got to make it happen somehow. So.
One scene in particular I'd like to break down is from the hiding place, where two characters are trying to escape from a dungeon. These are some of the storyboards, and the idea was that our characters would be silhouetted from the front and become more visible as the camera moves to reveal their faces. We set up a sky panel with a Shamira softbox and egg crate above the background wall as our key, and peppered in aperture MCs throughout the set. I dialed in the overhead ambience to a cool 10,000 Kelvin at a really low intensity to give a slight lift to the shadows and establish a little bit of color contrast. Danny wanted our characters to feel hidden and asked for a streak of light across the back wall, so I used the Mol 2K with a flicker box to mimic a torchlight, and also added a 2x3 cello cucoloris to give a little bit of shape and texture to the light. I love using analog solutions like flicker boxes because they feel much more organic than the preset effects you find on most LED fixtures. This is one of the only scenes that we shot using normal camera settings. Shutter was 1/50 and we shot at a T28, so we gave our AC Nick a run for his money. Normally I always prefer using log for narrative work, but I was quite happy with how s-cinetone performed in this scene. It just goes to show that you don't need to rely on fancy LUTs to get a nice image. Just saying. Hopefully this video is helpful in some way. It's always super refreshing whenever I get to work on narrative projects like this. The majority of my commercial or doc work is generally pretty high key, low contrast ratio, whereas for this project, we were really able to reach into the shadows and get super moody for some of the scenes. Shooting on green screen was actually pretty simple. A lot of times I would just ask Danny how he wanted it to feel, and it was up to my imagination to build that environment through light. You're able to take a lot of creative liberties so long as you have a solid understanding of where your light is being motivated from. It was great being able to lean on Danny's tremendous vision and using all kinds of inventive methods of problem solving to do something we're all passionate about, which is filmmaking. I've been a big fan of Danny and Rachel for some time, so I was happy to get involved with the team I really believe in. The film should be finishing up next year, and I'm super excited to see everything come together. Go ahead and give the people over at Desert Cactus a follow. They're huge lovers of cinema and are incredible at what they do. If you have any questions, obviously feel free to leave them in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.
And laughing and laughing and drinking and laughing and 3, 2, 1, shocked!